What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're having a wonderful day. If you're enjoying these videos, subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate it. We're gonna be doing another big giveaway at 2,000 subscribers. If you haven't already, follow our social media, Instagram and Facebook. We're gonna be talking about some amazing October lures to help get you more bites. You know, October can be a very difficult time for some people. You know, the fish are relating to bait fish. They're chasing shad, bluegill, eating crawfish. So they're eating a whole bunch of different things. In this video here, we're gonna be focusing on the baits that can get you the most bites, and you can still run into that quality bite that you're looking for out there on the water. So let's go ahead and hop into it here. Per the usual though, guys, we're gonna start at the top of the water column. And the first bait I'm gonna be throwing first thing in the morning, certain times in the midday, and then later in the evening is going to be a Topwater bait. This here is the Evergreen Shower Blow. So this is the SB 105. It's a great size, 105 millimeters. So basically a great bait fish imitator, not only for those bigger shad, but also those little ones. Now, the reason I love this Topwater so much, and I've talked about it a lot in the past, is that this Topwater here is very, very special. The way you can work this bait is very dependent on the rod you throw it on. It's very dependent on the line you're throwing it on, and you can do it a bunch of different ways. So the great thing about this bait here is it has that little cupped lip on it, cup lip design, and it allows you to have a little bit more of a frenzy sound going on. Not only are the BBs very loud inside as well, but that cupped lip allows you to have a little more action on the surface of the water, if that makes any sense. You know, with these pencil popper style baits, is that they create a little more commotion, creates a little bit of a pop, and allows you to work the bait in a single spot a lot easier. So as you're working this bait, you can work it pretty fast, I guess closer to you a lot faster, or you can work it in a way to where it just sits in one place and causes a lot of commotion. So the SB 105 is one of my favorite colors, favorite baits. This is one of my favorite colors. This is the Skeleton Chartreuse, and it's got a chartreuse back, white belly, and kind of like an orange head. And you're gonna notice with a lot of these baits here is they're gonna be a lot brighter than baits that I typically throw. You know, the bait fish in October and the fish in October are going to be feeding up very heavily. They're gonna be using their lateral lines, their sense of hearing, they're gonna be using their sight a lot. So having these bright colors and also having these loud and obnoxious sounds gets those fish to react, and it's something different that they don't hear on a day-to-day, especially just going after typical bait fish. So it's got to stand out to the fish, and that's what I'm keying in on here. So visually, this is gonna help you a lot. Sound-wise, it is very deadly, and of course, working this in different ways allows you to target those fish very specifically to the body of water that you're on. So let's move on here to another hard bait. This is another standard bait throughout the year, but in October, it can get really, really good. You know, bait fish are getting pushed up shallower, whether they're bluegill, shad, anything like that, any forage that they're eating, they're gonna pin up against little ledges, pin up against the bank, and that's how they're gonna ambush. And a lot of the times during this time of year, they're schooling up in little pods. I don't call them schools anymore, because they're not kind of sitting off on structure or cover or anything like that. These fish are actively moving in what I call pods, chasing down these fish, chasing down their prey. And typically these pods can range anywhere between, you know, 3 and 10 fish. Typically, the bigger they get, the smaller the number of fish that are in that pod. So right now, the 3 and 4 pound fish are roaming in pods of around 3 to 5 fish, and that's what I found on the lakes here in Texas. And I know for a fact that they're doing the same thing out across the country. So one of the easiest ways to catch fish in general is on a 1.5 Strike King square bill, guys. We all know it, we all love it. It's just a great bait overall. This one here is just in Sexy Shad. You know, it's white, it's got a very pearl white color to it, and it has a little yellow and blue to match the water clarity. But you know, the 1.5 square bill is a staple. It's got a great rattle in it. It puts off a great action, doesn't get snagged in the rocks a lot, and you can work this very, very fast. And that's one of the keys to picking out this bait in October in the fall time, is that the speed will get you more bites. So as I've talked about this before, fish bite in 3 different methods really: hunger, reaction, and kind of a mixture of the two. Curiosity is what I'd call the third one. So basically having you reel this bait a lot faster is going to allow you to get those reaction bites. It's gonna burn by them, they're gonna chase it for a split second, and making a lot of casts is important. They might miss it the first time, but you follow up again, they're gonna be more keyed into it, they can hear it, and they're gonna be ready for it that second time. So in the fall time, if you're cranking riprap with this, or you're cranking banks, don't be afraid to cast in the exact same place more than once. So I'm fishing out on Lake Louisville the past couple weeks. I have made the same cast at least like 10 times before moving to another one. If it's in a high percentage area where you've got a, like a piece of vegetation, you've got hardwood, you've got a little boulder or something, a lot of the times those fish are gonna be sitting on that, and you can burn it by a bunch of times, they won't eat it, and then finally you get the right cast just enough to where it deflects, or you get it so close to them that they will react to it, and that's how I'm getting a lot of bites. I didn't talk about the rod that I typically throw the Topwater on, so let's talk about that real quick. Go back to this one here. So typically for this Topwater, a 7 foot to like 7'4" rod is gonna be perfect. You don't need a super heavy duty rod for this. These treble hooks are sticky sharp. They're very, very easy to get a hook into the fish. Gonna be throwing around 40-pound braid to around a 15 to 17 pound fluorocarbon leader. That's gonna help the nose dive a little bit lower and really help you with working that bait side to side without moving it closer to you. So basically, if you want it to work faster towards you to where it's not sitting in one place, you can use monofilament, or you could go like straight mono and it's gonna work closer to you. You will have to have a little bit heavier rod, so typically a medium heavy moderate rod is going to be what I'm throwing it on, just to make sure I keep that fish pinned. And these hooks are super, super good as well. So again, you don't have to worry about bending those out or changing them. If you do want it to sit a little lower, upgrade the hooks. It's not going to affect too much, but there are options there. So for the square bill, my ideal rod will be around a 7'2" to 7'4" rod. Typically a medium heavy power. However, the taper is gonna have a good little tip. It's not gonna be a super fast rod. It's gonna be probably a moderate fast rod, in my opinion. But this one here, you can throw it on a wide variety of things. I do like to change the hooks out to Owner ST35s or Gamakatsu short shank EWGs. Depending on the day, I think sometimes that hook point allows you to get a little bit of skin, and it's going to help you get those fish. These hooks, these stock hooks on these 1.5s are thicker gauge. They're not an EWG style hook, which I do enjoy fishing EWG style hooks because I think once you get that fish, they're not coming off. They're not going to shake in a weird way and spit them. So these guys here, that's typically what I like to run on them. Next up, we have one of my favorite chatterbaits of all time. This is going to be the Mini Max. Now, what's awesome about the Mini Max is that it's got a smaller blade. I was debating between this bait here and just a typical swim jig. And I think the swim jig takes a little bit more skill to use in the fall time. So I narrowed it down to the Mini Max here. So the Mini Max is going to be basically like a small compact swim jig with a little tiny blade on it. Now, specifically this one is a 1/2 ounce. I wanna keep this bait a little bit lower. I'm really just using that extra chatter as a substitute for what I'd normally do with the swim jig. So with the swim jig, it's called the Alabama Shake, guys. If you don't know what it is, you see pros like Gerald Swindle, Wes Logan from those regions, they're shaking their rod, working that swim jig, and they're imparting a lot of action on it. If you don't know how to do that, because it does take some skill to master it, where you're working that swim jig super slow, but still making it have a ton of action, this is gonna help you out. You can slow roll this, and that blade is gonna provide that, that extra action to this bait that is very necessary for this technique. So I'm gonna be typically throwing a small Kytex, something like an easy shiner on the back of this, something that doesn't have a ton of thump to it and a lot of rise. So an easy shiner, 4 inch is gonna be great for this one. And I'll even throw some of those twin tail, where are they? The little zoom ones, little twin tail ones on the back of this. So I'm gonna be reeling this really, really slow, keeping it down in the water column. A lot of the times the fish are gonna be eating near the bottom unless it's something big and bright. And that's kind of what you're doing with this one here. You know, it's not a big meal, but it's going to be a meal that they can easily scarf down. It's gonna be moving slow, it's gonna be chattering, and that is why I love this one so much. Now, the hook on this is a little bit, it's still a heavier gauge hook, very similar to your normal jackhammer or original Chatterbait hooks. So, you know, 7'2" to 7'4", medium heavy. You know, all these rods can be pretty interchanged. I would throw 17-pound fluoro. You can get away with 15 pretty easily. Gotta have a 7-1 speed reel to an 8-speed reel, depending on how fast you can reel. You know, if you do have trouble reeling really fast, go to an 8-speed. If you're fine slowing yourself down, you know, the 8-speed will work as well. So it works with just about any reel. I would recommend, again, a 7 or up, but you can also get away with a 6-speed, depending on your rod, how you fight fish, and all that. So the Chatterbait Mini Max is one of the favorites, one of my go-tos for this list. Next up, if you're burning down banks and you're working really, really fast, one of my favorites is going to be the Berkley Power Blade Spinnerbait, guys. So this one here, designed by Edwin Evers. He's a great spinnerbait fisherman, and the reason I chose the compact here is that you're able to work this extremely, extremely fast. It does come with a little bit bigger willow leaf blade right there, and a Colorado blade. However, with the compact head design, it keeps it very, very low in a water column, and you can work it really, really fast. So the skirt on here is great. I love how they dispersed the weight in the head and the main shank of the hook here. It's a lot longer shank hook, so your hookup ratio is very, very good. And I'm gonna be working this around shallow cover, logs, vegetation, even boulders up on the bank if you're fishing somewhere that has clear water and stuff like that. We've got a bunch of different colors on the website, so go check all those out, lakeprotackle.com, as well as all the tackle rods and reels that we have here. So the compact spinnerbait, guys, 7 foot, 7'3", medium heavy is going to be perfect. 15, 17-pound line. I don't throw braid on these just to keep it down a little bit, but you can work it around shallow cover very, very efficiently. Typically with this compact, you don't need a trailer at all. If you do, just make it so it doesn't add a lot of lift to the bait. And you know, again, one of my favorites, chartreuse and white, especially this time of the year. It's gonna be very, very deadly. And last up, guys, for the fish that just do not want to trigger on anything, to the fish that are still sitting down, really inactive, but you know they're good fish. You know, if you're working around an area and you're like, man, there should be a fish on this piece of cover, throw this at them. This is just a Yamamoto D-Shad, one of my favorite soft body jerk baits of all time. You can throw this on a slightly weighted hook, or you can throw it weightless. It's got plenty of salt in it, and you can work it a ton of different ways. You can work it fast, you can work it slow, you can put it on a small little like 1/8 ounce tungsten, 1/8 ounce lead as a Texas rig, and work it very, very efficiently on the bottom. Because again, it's a very heavy bait. So you can do a lot of things with these. Very, very efficient at just getting bites, and that's the goal of this video, to help you get more bites with the baits here. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video here. You know, one of my favorite rods to throw this on is usually a spinning rod. I'll throw it just completely weightless on a spinning rod, chuck it out there, just kind of jerk it in like a jerk bait, and you'll get tons of bites. So I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Hopefully it helped you. If you do decide to get anything on this list here and you're a first-time customer, use code NEW10 at checkout, NEW10, and you'll earn 10% off your first order with us. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you enjoyed it, leave a thumbs up on it. We really appreciate it. Leave any comments down below. Let me know what you think. If there's any baits I missed that you like fishing in the fall time, let me know. I want to know for sure, guys. But thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time, guys, at Lake Pro Tackle. See ya.